functionality, aesthetics, and process. And if those are three separate circles, I try to find a place where those three circles overlap. When I finished high school, I really was looking for something different than a kind of normal academic situation after that. And so I started just working odd jobs. I worked as a carpenter assistant. I started to work with my hands, doing physical labor basically. And that was really important because at that time I realized one of the most important things for me was really to be working with my hands. And I also knew that I didn't want to work alone. I wanted to work with other people in a group. So when I started thinking about school, I started looking not for a particular area of study, but some area of study that met those three criteria. I was really open. And I had friends that were in school at the Rhode Island School of Design, and they would tell me what kinds of projects they were working on in their freshman classes. At that time, industrial design at the school was changing from a process where a teaching environment where people worked with their hands, they worked with machines, towards what it is now mostly, which is where you design on a computer. And so I quickly kind of realized, like, this is going towards the computer world, and it really wasn't something that I was interested in that sense. I just happened to take glass. I thought, I'll try glass. And as soon as I started to do it, I realized that it wasn't a conscious thing, but I just knew I wanted to keep doing it. I was like, this is it. And I still want to keep doing it, so that's very fortunate. I started to teach at Rhode Island School of Design and Massachusetts College of Art. I started to teach just technical glass blowing classes, and I started making my work. And I did that for 3 or 4 years. I had an opportunity to do an exhibition here in Japan, and I didn't know anything about Japan when I came. And then there was a teaching position that opened up, and I applied for that and just threw myself into a different culture, a different language, of course. I made things for my own kitchen. Jars, pasta jars, rice jars, the things that I still make to this day. But at first I had no intention of making those things in any kind of production. I just wanted to have them myself. But after I made them and used them, I would make it, use it, redesign it, make it more usable or something that I enjoyed to use even more, just for my own kitchen environment. I was surprised to find that although there were lots of glassmaking in Japan, most of the glass that I saw in Japan was really influenced by Western glass. Kind of ironically and accidentally, really, I made something that was more based on function, more along the lines of typical kind of Japanese thinking. And there was kind of an opening in the market for that, and things just kind of took off from there, just one step after another. Coming to Japan was really seminal in the development of my work. For one thing, I grew up in a city, and now that I live out in the countryside here in Japan, I see people using their hands for things that they could easily buy, actually, but instead it's just kind of cultural habit, especially for the older generation, to make things instead of buy them. It really inspired me to make work that functioned in the household. It wasn't just about decoration necessarily or color. Specifically, it inspired me to make work that was a backdrop for the contents. For example, the rice jar, maybe it looks nice when it's empty, but it really is complete when it has rice in it. I would never have made the things that I make now if I had stayed in the United States. There's no way. And I would never do the work that I do now in the United States. Making and selling things in Japan is that I meet the end user. I make works, I go to the exhibition with the works, bring them out, and people come up to me and we talk about them. So it's much more of a complete cycle. We now have, including myself, 8 people here. One thing that I realized in recent years since I started this studio was that there really isn't much of a place to learn glass blowing. You can learn in some schools, but those are geared towards art making. I'm turning 50 this year, and I'm still getting better. I'm still learning. So it's something that you can teach an assistant, you can teach an apprentice, as long as you can do it, you still can teach more and more and more. It's not like you teach someone for 2 or 3 years and then they learn everything, because you're still learning yourself. So we designed a separate line of work that's designed specifically to learn and to practice. And now we have, including myself, 8 people here. Every time I gather from the furnace and go back and sit down at the bench, I try to do it better than I did the last time, every single time. With that in mind, am I just going to accumulate all this knowledge and then not pass it on? Yeah, so I love to teach. I want to teach. I want to share what I've learned and what I'm continuing to learn. Push. My lifestyle, my life is kind of the proving grounds for my own work. So I make things that I want, or make things that I can see a future for, and develop those things, and then I can put them out into the world and make a living doing it. So it's very fortunate.